you can spend a lot of time doing nothing, doing busy work. You can be working 40 hours, 60 hours, and not be making the income that you need because you're not doing the type of work that you need to do. So that's the problem with like having your own business, is that you can spend all the time in the world working on your business, and you like there are times where you are not making any money.
Hey, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of the Pretty Focus podcast. I am here with Rhadonda and Ivy, and today's topic is how to go full-time. And we were just talking before I hit record that before we talk about how to go full-time, we actually have to define what full-time means. Because I think full-time, like traditionally, you think 9 to 5, right? 9 to 5, 40 hours. That's really what we're conditioned to think coming from like corporate or, you know, Ivy, you were a nurse. So you probably worked 4 10s.
I did 3 12s.
3 12s. So everything. So that's 36 hours. So everything is geared towards that 36 to 40 hour mark. But when you're working for yourself and you have your own business, there actually might be a different term. So let's actually define for you, what does full time mean? So Rhadonda, why don't you go first?
Okay. For me, it's what amount of money do I need? And that predicates then how much time I spend.
Got it. So your full-time is all around money. And Ivy, what about you? Is that what you would say too, or do you have different thoughts?
Yeah, I would say that. And I was kind of joking beforehand that you can spend a lot of time doing nothing, doing busy work. You can be working 40 hours, 60 hours and not be making the income that you need because you're not doing the type of work that you need to do in order to achieve that. So that's the problem with like having your own business, is that you can spend all the time in the world working on your business, and there are times where you are not making any money. So it's a balance of the hours and the time. So I think when I first started, I worked like 60 to 80 hours a week. And now I work part-time and I make about the same amount of money.
Oh, dang. Oh my God. I didn't know that you worked that much when you first started as a food photographer, 60 to 80 hours. Wow.
Yeah.
Oh, and I feel like don't do that. You guys,
no, don't do that. Sis, don't do that. I don't recommend it.
Not how to do full time.
This is how not to go full time. Yeah.
I think also factor, we said time, but like how much you're charging, which obviously that hopefully went up, Ivy, since you first started. So that also affects. So
yeah, it's true. Because I mean, when we started, like Melody and all of us started pretty early on, in the Pretty Focus world. And like, I remember Melody, you're like, you can make $45 on recreations and $65 for each exclusive. And I was like, yes, that's amazing. That's great.
Yeah, those of you who are like just coming in.
Yeah.
And you're seeing like whenever I talk, like we make $250 for recreation, $300 to $350 for an exclusive. Y'all don't even know.
Yeah.
I don't even know.
you don't.
That's when we started, and we worked our way up to being able to charge more. And I love that because it kind of spearheaded and like kind of helped lead the way for others to be able to make more, And so I love that. So Ivy, 60 to 80 hours a week. I would say that's full time.
That is definitely full time. Yeah. Yeah.
And there's no overtime. There's no like double, you get time and a half for overtime. That's like the challenging part of the con of owning your own business, right?
Yeah, there's no one to keep you in check. And my poor husband, he'd be like, Ivy, you can't do this anymore. You can't do this to yourself.
You're like,
no,
one more.
You work really hard, and then you break down, and then it was a bad cycle.
Right. Of course, not a healthy cycle for sure.
No.
So those of you listening, don't be scared. It's fine. We're going to tell this is what not to do.
This is why we're here, to share our
here. This is why this exists. Because I think too, we've seen like, people come into this and holy cow, they go full time so fast because the work has just come to them. And then like 6 months into that, they're like, whoa. Holy cow. I got to like reevaluate some things. You get burnt out if you go full time too quickly, especially if you're like coming into a new field. And then we have people who it's a little bit more a slow roll and maybe it takes them a little bit longer. So we have really seen over the years, this range of people are like, they hit the ground running. They've got clients reaching out. And then we've seen just like a little bit of a slow rise to working up to full time. So what we'd say is let's not do 60 to 80 hours. Ivy, talk about what you did to like manage that time. How did you get it down and still be able to make the same amount of money?
So I got really efficient with what I did. So I think inevitably when you are starting a new business, you get really excited and you have a really like nice burst of energy. You're just filled with creative energy. Some people call it the entrepreneurial spark when you like start a new business and you're like, you have this spark, right? But with the spark, like when you're lighting a fire, you either like sometimes it lights and you can keep your fire going or it'll just spark and it's gone, right?
Yeah.
So when I started, I did not have any systems in place. So I think one of the biggest things that you can do when you have that spark is to create a system, create systems in place. So do all the boring stuff. Be super like learn how to be organized, learn about how to create a file system. I think the Pretty Focus course really does help with this a lot. It really helped me learn how to develop systems, because Melody, you have like a whole system with like Lightroom, your file systems, all of that. Do all the boring stuff. Do the email templates. Like when you get a new client, create an email template for them. I went through and I actually created a whole like workflow on I have like a system. I use Monday.com, but I went through every single task that I do. So it went from like writing the recipe, going grocery shopping, photographing the process, photographing the heroes, culling the photos, editing the photo, like all these things, all these like little tiny steps I went through and I created like a little check mark. So now I just put in my little recipe and I check off where I'm at in each recipe so that I don't have to use the mental energy to go back and be like, okay, what did I work on last? Where am I at with this recipe? Because I do multiple recipes a week. So I just kind of created these systems that sounds really boring, but I'm still using them now. I went full time in 2019. I've been doing this since 2018. I still use those systems that I put into place back then now. So I was working a lot of hours, but I was doing something. I was making it easier for myself later on down the line, I guess.
I think that's genius. Mm-hmm. That's genius. I think it comes by trial and error too, though. And I think you do have to hustle a lot at the very beginning to learn some of those things. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? Like you don't know till you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's awesome, Ivy.
Yeah.
I'm an organized mess.
No, you're not.
No. I mean, I have systems, but I'm terrible. I think we need to also learn how to say no and to value ourselves. Yeah. That's where I went wrong at the beginning to go full time. I said yes to everyone and everything.
Yeah.
And so value your time, your husband, your family, your life.
Yeah.
And it's okay to say no.
Yep.
Yeah.
I think there's like when you first start, there's like that scarcity mindset that this is probably going to be the only client that will reach out to you ever. So you say yes to them, right? Whenever it might not be the best fit, but you just have this scarcity, especially starting a new business, right? Where you want to make sure you have income coming in. And absolutely that's important. And there might be times where you where you know, need to say yes because you are looking at that income goal, but you don't want to stop seeking new clients. And I think that's what makes the Buyers Club great is that like you're not having to like hustle out on Instagram to go get clients. You know, there's like, you have that access to clients there so you can go and be connecting with them. But I would continue to connect with them and continue to put yourself out there, continue to stay front of mind. So you are going to get the dream clients that you want. And I think everybody has gone through that where you say yes to these clients that, you know, maybe want to make you pull your hair out. And it could be soul sucking. And that's for everybody in any industry ever, not like here. This is all across the board. And you have to remember that like a lot of times saying yes to those things is because there's a scarcity mindset. And then you get into that groove and then you forget to go out and get new clients. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Right. And so I think it's really important to just like have a system in place to Ivy is not just like your internal systems, but have a system where you're looking at, you know, making connections for our students. They can go and like post consistently inside of the Buyers Club and to stay, you know, front of mind as well. So
2 things. I think we don't always have a dream client when we first start out, but I think there's so much to learn from every single client.
Absolutely.
And I think if you serve your current clients well, that will get you one step further to full time, because there's been times where, you know, I was hired by a client to do 1 a month. And the next thing you know, they're giving me 2, 3, 4. Do you know what I'm saying? If you serve them well, then they will either give you more work or they'll tell others and you'll be contacted. So you may not start with your dream client, but you can certainly learn from them. And then when the time comes, you can graciously pass them on to somebody else to learn mm-hmm. and, you know, serve them well, and they will give you more. Like I'm almost back to the point that I'm going to have to say no again.
Wow.
I haven't had to do that in a while because I've kind of, you know, been happy where I'm at. And I have a couple clients now that they didn't even ask me. They just started putting more work. Now, one of them did ask me. The other one just started putting more work on our task list. And I'm like, hello. Thank you. But, you know, let's talk about this. So
yeah,
you're going to serve them well.
Yeah. So I think you hit something on the head. And I think whenever you are faithful with little, mm-hmm. right, you can be trusted with more. And that's what, you know, serving clients well is, you know, you're going to do that one shoot that they give you really, really well. Right. And so not, be like, oh, they're just giving me one shoot. They don't really matter. Right. Like they're not a big client because I only get one from them a month. Right. So, you know, you kind of treat people differently because they only give you one a month versus somebody who might give you 5 or 6. Right. So, but then you don't know what that client who's going to give you one can do in the months to come.
And you don't know where that client's going to end up. I have a heart for the underdog, and I'm not saying I serve underdog clients. I'm just saying they may be first starting out and you're helping them build their business to full time. And what a blessing to be part of their team all the way through to where they're that big client.
Sure. Yeah. And we've seen that, right? Over the years. Oh, I mean, just with how food bloggers have grown, like we've seen that. We've connected and worked with food bloggers when they have had, you know, smaller audiences, and to watch them grow and scale to where they're at now and now they got 2, 3 blogs is actually really cool to be part of. And then you get invited to be part of cookbook projects, you know, and other projects, which is really neat. So yeah. So, okay. So whenever it comes to full time, let's kind of recap real quick. Because I know we always go off on little side, which is what I love.
Little side.
I love it. I think that's what the podcast I think is for, is like real conversation to talk about all of the things. And so one is like, you need to define, what does full-time look for you? It's not necessarily defined by hours. It's really defined by the income that you need. And, I don't want, people to be discouraged by, you might hear going, oh my gosh, they had like a ton of clients super fast. And then maybe your story is like a slow grow. I don't want you to despise humble beginnings, because there's so much to that. There's so much things that you can be doing. Like Ivy said, creating systems, getting systems in place. You have an opportunity to continue working and when I say working, like continue like to practice and to keep building your skills. But so for some it scales fast and some it scales a little bit slower. And I think it also depends on what that person needs. Right.
Mm-hmm.
So, okay.
Yeah,
So
I think it's almost better to build slower, because then just kind of like what you were saying before, what you do with the little is what you do with a lot. So you can actually just kind of slowly work your way to being able to take on a lot without the burnout.
Yeah. So for Ivy, for somebody who was working 60 to 80 hours, like if you would have gone back, would you have still done it like that? Or would you have tried to go a little bit slower? What pace do you think would have been good for you?
Honestly, I feel like it worked well for me. We actually had a name for it. We created, my husband and I, because it was a dire situation. We created a stopping point. So we actually called it Summer Work Camp, where it was like, so both of us were building our businesses and we're like, okay, then if we're going to do this, we're going to do this. We're going to go hard. So we just created like a summer work camp where we had a stopping point where like by that point, we wanted to have like our schedule set, normal working hours, but we wanted our business to be at the place where we wanted it to be. Mm-hmm. So we intentionally made the decision to go hard at that point. But there has to be a stopping point. There has to be an end in mind where it's like, this is the goal. It's not forever. And this is where we want to be. So that's what we did. And it worked well for us, but yeah.
That's so great. Mm-hmm. That's so great. That was in the very beginning.
Yeah. Yep. That was when I left nursing and we decided to just go for it.
You're just going all in.
Yeah.
I think it's still a good lesson to have a stopping point, even when your hours are less, because for those who are workaholics,
yes,
we're the right people for this podcast, because, it is so hard to have that stopping point. You feel like, oh, there's more to do, but you've got to value your life.
Mm-hmm.
I'm so curious, Rhadonda. Okay, so I have business hours, right? I have my working hours, especially now that I have a baby. I guess he's almost 2, so he's not baby.
He's always your baby.
He's always my baby. But because I work from home, he knows, he's like, Mommy's working. Because I have my work hours and I purposely wear I have my work clothes. I only wear those clothes for work. I have my work shoes. I have my audiobook that is specifically for work. And I just have my work hours so I can just zone in and have time outside of like home life, I guess. Because working from home, you have to learn how to separate it. Or else you're just always going to be on. But I'm so curious, Rhadonda, what you do, because that's what I do. But you say you're disorganized. I don't believe it. But
that's why I say I'm an organized mess, because I just do it like Melody used to always use me as an example of shooting with my heart instead of my head. I work with my heart instead of my head. Like I'll make a plan for the week, and then I'm like, nah, I'm going to go sit around the fire pit. Like I don't have kids. I mean, I have a husband, which I feel bad sometimes because he's, I'm like, see ya. But I just kind of come and go as I please. And I really feel like I could do better with that, with my time. I'm a slow shooter and all that. So, I'm not the poster child for that one, because I still work with my heart when I feel like it, because I've been through burnout.
But you know what? I think what you guys both just described is how you can make this fit your life.
Mm-hmm.
And that it is not going to look the same for everybody. Because I probably lean more towards Rhadonda. There we go, get my face. Where I just want just a little bit more freedom and flexibility in the day. And so where I would wake up, this drives my husband crazy, and just be like, what do I want to do today? You know? And so he'd always like, you need systems. And I have definitely gotten better over time. But I also just want to keep like that flexibility within my day and be able to kind of come and go as I please. And, you know, there for a while we were homeschooling in the middle of it all. And so I really wanted that flexibility. I think that's what you both are just really speaking to. So Rhadonda, if that's what works for you in your life, I think that's what works for you. And that's the beauty of being able to be a food photographer who works from home. Is like you set those rules, and whatever works for you is going to work for you. Now, I think the caveat to that is making sure that, Ivy, you nailed this on the head, is that you are not wasting time.
Yes.
You know, if you are working, you know, Rhadonda, you start a recipe in the morning and then you want to go about your day and then you finish it at night. That's great, as long as the times where you are working are intentional.
That's true.
Do you know what I mean? And so I think that if you're like locked in, then you're working and you are not wasting time.
Yeah.
You know,
That's so true.
so it's so easy to do, but,
I think along those same lines too, Melody, is that the beauty of going full-time, having your own business, is that you are allowed to change your mind and do something different. Like pivoting is the name of the game. Like you're allowed to do that. I feel like before I started a business, it was very rigid, you know, like being a nurse, it's very rigid what you do, right? How you go about your day, how you deal with patients. But in here, it's like, oh, if this isn't working, like you can change your mind. You can do something different. You can go in a different direction. It's so magical. It's wonderful.
You are the boss. Mm-hmm. And, you know, I just had a recording with a food blogger last week. And I don't know where it's going live in conjunction to this episode, but when she talked about her business and growing and scaling and what she's done, is that she started with the life she wants to live. And I was like, you know, most people start with the money. You know, and today we talked here, of course, money is a factor. It has to be a factor, right? Especially if you are relying on this to be your income, it has to be a factor. But for her, what she started with was the life she wants to live.
I love that.
I do too. I think it's more important than money.
And right. And so, cause we can get so caught up in that. And so, you know, Rhadonda, that flexibility for me is like, I'm hearing you're like, well, I'm living the life that I want to live. Right.
Mm-hmm.
And so for Ivy, for you, having a 2-year-old, having that boundary set in place of this is, I think that's so great for him who doesn't quite understand.
Yeah.
You know, it's like visual repeating for him, right? Yeah. Like, this is my work time and this is my hair outfit, right? And so then he has time with dad, of course, you know, and so I think that's really great, is that for both of you, you're creating that life that you want to have. And when you start out so fast, it's really hard to keep that in mind, because usually when you start off the gate and you've got a full schedule and you're taking on all of this work, it's 6 months in, you end up having to like backtrack and kind of figure things out. Mm-hmm. Whether it's like, I would really recommend whenever you are wanting to go full time is, yes, what money do you need to make? Of course, like we said, that's a factor, but really, what life do you want to live?
Yes. I agree.
You know, do you want to live?
And reevaluate that too,
mm-hmm.
periodically, because it will change with seasons.
Right.
I think you could do a whole podcast on how to work full time with children.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah. I need
tips and tricks and
so hard.
or at any phase and stage of life. I mean, caring for adult parents, like, you know, how do you tread those waters and still work full time?
Yeah. Yeah. And so, Rhadonda, did you have a slow start, or did you have a full load, you know, right off the gate?
Full load right off the gate. Posted in the Buyers Club. No, it wasn't the Buyers Club. We didn't have it then, did we?
We didn't have it then, yeah.
I don't remember how I got work.
We had it soon after, because I've gone back and we had that group for a while, but it was soon after I think you joined that we started it.
Yeah. I had like 4 inquiries within 20 minutes.
Yeah.
You know, and then started saying yes to everything. And I think I was working at one time for like 8 to 10 different clients a month. So I hit the ground running.
Yeah.
I was kind of our main income, so it was okay. But man, burnout comes in, and then you lose your love for it. You lose your creativity, your joy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I hit the ground running like Ivy. And what's funny is when you spread your time out with that flexibility, you may only be technically working 20 hours, but it can feel like 40 if you stretched it here and there throughout the day. So I like, Ivy, I love your 9 to 5 kind of, I don't know if that's your hours, but sometimes I feel like I should do that on some days.
Mm-hmm.
But just knowing you can, or you don't have to.
Right.
Awesome.
You can do how you want. You're your boss.
Right. And so, you know, one of the ways too that Ivy, you have, you know, scaled. So we've talked a lot about, you know, the hours that you need, the life that you want to live. But too, like practically, let's talk about like the income. You went from like recreations to exclusives. You have your selling exclusives masterclass, and doing exclusives from the shop really helped you to be able to grow and scale what you were doing. Right?
Yeah. Yeah, I found that when I was working for clients, I was making enough, but we were in summer work camp, so that I was like looking to maximize income as much as possible, which is one reason why I started selling exclusives. Because I was like, you know what, I don't want to have to find more clients. I will just sell to people, like sell as much as I can, as fast as I can. So, and that's why I had to be really efficient and came up with, like having a shop and being more, more intentional and more efficient with how that sales process went, which is what led to the Selling Exclusives Masterclass, which was like a huge blessing. Also during summer work camp. So that was great.
Yeah.
So that's why, and then I just kind of, because I was doing clients and selling, I could really see what I liked doing. And then when summer work camp was over, I was like, okay, then I'm just going to do what I like doing. And then I just went from there. So I did say yes to everything, which I don't recommend. But by saying yes to everything, I really learned what I liked doing. And then I could pare down from there.
Yeah. Yeah. That's so true. That's so true. And Rhadonda, you've only ever done recreations. There for a while you did exclusives, but you found out you didn't love that.
The only exclusive, I did one on my own, and then the others where I bought actually from you, Ivy, that when you used to sell tested recipes.
Yeah.
I still have like 2 or 3 of them I haven't shot. Yeah. So it's not my jam. I feel like I could do it now a little more confident after making all the recipes over the years. But I love just somebody saying, here you go.
Yeah.
You know.
And, you know, for those who want to do, Rhadonda, you just hit on this. For those of you who are like, well, I would like to do what Ivy did, but I don't develop exclusives. We actually have developers within our community where you can purchase a developed recipe from no photos and you photograph that and then you can sell that on your own. We have that quite a bit where photographers are scaling by hiring out their business, like the developed recipe. It's all ready to go. It's already tested and they're just photographing it. You know, another way that people are able to scale, and, Tia Lynn has talked about this before. She works 20 hours, she works part-time hours. I don't know how many hours she works, but she does photo and video, and she does it at the same time. She uses continuous light, like Rhadonda teaches in her artificial light masterclass. And so that's another way she's able to scale her income is by adding on additional services.
Yes.
And so I think that whenever you look at it, it's not just recreations, it's exclusives. It's, hey, you can actually come in and hire other people to develop for you. I mean, this is really putting on your CEO hat.
Yeah.
Right? Just like a food blogger hires somebody to photograph their recipes, you know what I mean? And so, like, as a business owner, you can delegate out certain tasks to help you be able to grow and scale your business, you know, buying developed recipes from other people and then adding on food video is a way to do that as well. Whether you're doing reels or the full style, video is not going anywhere.
Yeah.
I learned so much. Go ahead.
Oh, sorry. Well, I guess there's a lot of things you can outsource, Melody. For a long time, I had a full team, but I decided to scale back and just work from home just to make it a little bit easier on me. But I had an assistant. I had someone that would shoot the process shots for me. So they would cook, shoot the process, and I would do the heroes. I had developers. It was great. I had someone that would proofread my recipes and list everything. It was amazing. But I also love what I'm doing now, how I'm doing now. So it's really up to you. You can, if you're feeling it and there's something you don't like doing, there's probably someone that can help you with that.
That's what I was going to jump in with too. If you don't like editing, hire somebody to edit, and then you could go ahead and start on your next recipe or whatever. So I learned that from your podcast, Melody, with all the different bloggers and how they outsource. And I mean, that's all of us can go full time even quicker if we outsource some things, maybe currently, and then you can go back like Ivy and I'm ready to do it again.
Yep. I know that might seem challenging, right, to do, but you are able to scale faster. And I want you to think about it as buying back your time. Mm-hmm. It's that now you are able to do something that is going to make you even more money, right? It's not like you are hiring out and then you go and you sip cocktails by the pool. It's now you are actually able to put that time into another income generating thing.
Absolutely.
So it works, right? Right? Because it's, you're either sometimes you do need just your time back, but a lot of times it's you are when every person that I would hire, I'm okay, in order to pay for them, I need to come up with this many new recipes. But because I'm hiring them, I can actually let's say I needed one more recipe per week to sell. But because I had hired them, I was able to produce 3 to 4 more recipes per week. So I was actually making a lot more with just a little bit more of an investment.
Yeah, I think that's fantastic. And that's something that not a lot of people realize is an option whenever they step into this type of business, because we talk about you can do recreations, you can do exclusives, but really it's really wide open to how you want to do it. And so that's why all of our master classes are really geared towards being able to support the food video, styling to help you upgrade, update your styling, the artificial light. We've got flash and we've got continuous, now we have both of those classes. So you can add in food video seamlessly and do photo and video at the same time, adding in reels, and then again, diversifying out recipe development and editing. And you can do that. And I think you can even do that within the community. Is we have people within the community hiring each other to be able to do things for them, which is that's wonderful. Don't you want to be a part of a community like that?
Absolutely. Oh, I am.
You are. I know. I could say, aren't you so glad you're a part of a community like that?
Such a great community.
Oh, I do think when it comes to going full time, though, one piece of advice that I would do is to talking about community, only surround yourself with your biggest cheerleaders. Do get people away from you that have negative thoughts about what you're doing, especially if they've never done it before or if they've done it and they failed. Surround yourself with people that have done, I think how my husband puts it is the rule of thirds. So, spend your time with the third of the amount of people that you are with are no less than you. The third of your amount of time is with people that are on your same level. And a third of your time should be with people that are better than you, more successful than you that you can learn from. So, but I know when I was first starting off and I would tell people what I was doing, I got a lot of side eye. They were oh, and because it was so new, Melody, when you started the course that I didn't see a lot of success. You were the success that I saw. And I was well, I know one person that is doing well.
So you got 3 people you can surround yourself and you got one person.
And I got a lot of side eye. They're well, have you made any sales? Do you have any clients? And I was well, not yet. I'm still working on it. And I'm it's just that little seed of doubt can set you back by a lot. So I just if you have people like that in your life, I would just not get rid of them, but surround yourself with people that are your cheerleaders that really want you to succeed and care about where, like, you following your dreams.
Yeah.
Even if it does seem a little iffy sometimes.
Yeah. Sure. Those people can have like 50% access to you, right? You know, like you don't need to give them full access to you. You don't need to share all of the details with them. You can just be a testimony, and they're going to just watch you walk it out. You know what I mean? They're going to watch you make it happen, and they're going to be like, can I do that too? That's what's going to happen.
And you're going to bite your tongue to say, told you so, told you so.
Oh, yeah. I think that's fantastic, Ivy. I think that's a really great way to end this episode, is to you know, make sure that you're surrounding yourself with the right people. That is vital. I think that's important just in every area of life. Like you can't do life alone. You can't do business alone, but also make sure you're doing business with the right people. That you're with a supportive community. You are with people who get it, and you're with people who are going to drive you to make you better. Right.
Yes.
So I think that's fantastic. But you guys, thank you so much for being here on this episode. If you guys loved this episode, will you leave a review, leave a comment? If you're watching on YouTube, we want to hear what you have to say. And if you would like a part 2, let us know. Let us know in the comments if you want to hear a part 2. All right. Okay, you guys, thank you so much for joining us. We'll see you next time for another episode of the Pretty Focus Podcast.